Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of the Hippy Dippy Show. I'm one of your hosts, Cassidy Bowker.
And I'm Bo Bowker.
And I'm Jeffrey J.
Woohoo! Welcome back, you guys.
Yeah, clap it up.
Everyone,
It's been a while.
yeah, it has been a while. Maybe 2 weeks.
Maybe three. I feel like
Yeah, by the time this comes out, I think it'll have been 3 whole giant weeks.
Woo! We
Oh my
have been
gosh.
so busy. There is much to be caught up about. I was really excited. I was open and willing to start the show off, and then I get this feedback.
Yeah.
What did I do?
From you guys.
Jeez, with the BS words
Yeah.
right off the bat.
Yeah.
What the heck?
I always love it too because I feel the same way where I'm like every time I say like I've been so busy, I always think like I had time to binge things too. I always think like I could have made it work. Like I've never worked 87 hours a week or something where I've been like I couldn't fit in a podcast.
Right,
But
yeah.
but you were traveling and there was a lot of like things where you
I
were
was gone.
it's
I
Bo's
went
fault.
to a
is I think the
place.
point.
I went to a place, and it's my fault. And it was something, you guys. Basically, long story short, if you need breath work, I'm your guy. Lay down, I'll breathe you. I'll breathe you out and freaking heal your whole life and your ancestors' lives. And ultimately the world, if that's what you want to do.
So basically, he went to an undisclosed location with a teacher who shall not be named, with a group of people who also shall not be named, and that's the story.
Okay, this is I know that y'all haven't had time to watch it, but The Vow, which is a docu-series on HBO, is about a cult that first we'll talk about it too because you must know about it. But that's what it sounds like you went and did. It sounds like you went to hang out in a cult.
I wish I could have gone.
To a
I-
cult?
Shoot, I was stuck at home with the kids.
For once. I'm Mr. Mom over here. Every other month, she's like, I gotta go to Guatemala. A piece of chocolate called me from the universe. I gotta go. I gotta go to San Francisco to study how babies do yoga.
I know. Are you sure like Mother Gaia isn't a person, Bo?
Mother Gaia.
I'm gonna go see Mama Cacao. That's the chick she's cheating on you with.
Yeah. Um, look, I mean, the whole thing is like, I don't know what I'm allowed to say in times of COVID. We were safe. Everybody was safe. Everything was good. Everyone got tested.
Yeah. So
This
what's
probably
the big
also
deal?
sounds like
I
your
just don't
sex
understand
cult.
what the big deal is. Everybody gets tested.
Everybody gets tested. Hey, I don't know. I don't know what the rules are. I'm waiting until somebody else does something publicly or says something, and then I'll be like, all right, yeah, fine.
Well, the bottom line is you created your own little pod. You know, like people have their pods where you all get tested and then you're only around each other and it's a small group of people. So there's
And you're not allowed to
totally
leave.
safe.
I thought that was great. You're not
you're
allowed
not.
the property.
This sounds exactly like the show I just lived.
So tell us about this show, Jeff. Tell us about this show.
Okay, first of all, this is really important to me. Oh, I just shook things. I'm so excited.
Wow.
This show is about, it's like if you took Scientology. Okay, this is going to blow you guys' mind. I can't believe you haven't seen this. The documentary is put together by the guy who created What the Bleep Do We Know.
Really?
He got tricked into this cult.
What?
What?
He got tricked into it because, and here's what I've realized. I watched the first episode of this, and after the first episode, I was like, I would 100% be in this cult. 100%. Because cults all start with these great ideas. All the things that we talk about on the Hippy Tippy Show, that's what a cult is.
Yeah, for sure. This
it's-
is like, yeah, like a Osho.
Oh,
Show.
yeah,
Wild Country.
it's about breaking down barriers. I get this new camera gets me all fuzzied, and I have to get off screen and then back on screen.
Peekaboo.
There we go. It's all these great ideas about breaking down barriers and telling, like, creating your own reality and having intense friendships and realizing where you're holding yourself back. And it is the most beautiful thing in the world. And somewhere along the way, then it becomes a cult. And it horrible and
Is it a sex cult? Why do I
oh yeah. Oh yeah. And by the time this cult ends, there's like they're branding women.
Aren't
Oof.
they always sex cults though?
think most cults
Like
end in
Jim
sex?
Jones, wasn't Jim Jones doing sex with all the ladies?
I think any one dude in power is eventually going to be like, I could probably just have sex with all these people.
Yeah.
Like it might not even start off like that. Like whoever started this cult, maybe they were like, yes, ultimate friendship camp. Like let's just do that.
Yeah.
And then eventually he's like, man, these people like really love me. And then he has a realization of like, oh, I could just have sex with them if I wanted.
Yeah.
And then you got to be a grounded and good enough person to not do that. Like,
Yeah. It's how do
Well-
you do that when you have all these women who have like told you everything and they believe in you and they trust you and then you've started to believe you're amazing too.
Well, it's not even just in cults. Look at people in power. It's people in power, that you have to already have some type of self-awareness going into that realm and world to really keep you grounded. Yeah, that's
Yeah. When the Hippy Dippy show first like took off and we had so many people, I've just been the amount that I have to say no to people is just it's exhausting. It's really if I were a lesser person, I'd have a cult.
As Cassidy says when she talks about the power of that she wields over the Hippy Dippy fans, she says that it's been a real boon of poon.
This is
what?
this is what you learned at your cult that you just went to, Bo. And let me just say, and then we'll leave the vow alone. It is fantastic and amazing. It literally takes probably to the half of the series before I finally start convincing myself like, yeah, this is bad. Then you start seeing the really bad stuff and you realize how terrible it finally gets to. But the beginning of it is like, even at the end, even though it was really, really bad, I was like, look how many friends they had. And they all just wanted to be better people. And
they're all inside of each other.
But what was it, Jeff? What was it? Is this a religion? Is this like
no, it was
they learned
based.
something from it?
Yeah, it was based on breaking down barriers and realizing that you can do more with your life and overcoming fear and helping each other do that. That's what the original idea was. It was about being successful because you're breaking down barriers and realizing why you have fear and diving into the origins behind the feelings that you have and empowering each other and genuinely being caring and not harming the world and making the world a better place. Every single thing that I love. Like all the things. And then all
And
of a
how
sudden,
did it turn to sex?
exactly what Bo said. Exactly what Bo said. One dude gets all this power and he realizes it and he figures out a way to control people. He tears them down. That's
Yeah.
part of it is that you break yourself down to get these even we do it when we are empowering ourselves. We say, "Oh, we're so vulnerable right now because we've let out all these emotions at these retreats we go to." Now imagine if the person there then takes advantage of that in the end.
Like Bikram.
Right. Right. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
No.
It's true. Bikram, the Bikram yoga guy.
Oh, yes. I see. Yes, you're right. Exactly. No, I just thought you were ripping on the idea, a whole genre of yoga, and just
Right.
saying that it was terrible. But
No,
yes, that's right. He has that documentary. Um,
Yes, yeah, and he did the same sort of thing, like took advantage of people and yeah, like but I think that's the thing is like you know like there's a real fine line, or maybe it's a thick line, I don't really know, of like being like sexually free and like just well and just being open, right? Like in life. And which would include some sort of freedom with your body, but also like maintaining that respect and sanctity for your body where you're not allowing this predatory sexual energy
yeah.
to come and
And I would say that's easy to say because I mean, this thing starts as very corporate almost. Like, this is
yeah,
about your success. It has nothing to do with anything sexual. They never get naked in front of each other. There's none of that
yeah,
until somehow you just lose your way. I mean, it was the guy who, wrote and filmed What the Bleep Do We Know? He gets sucked into it, and then and you see his life is destroyed by it, and he just talks about how he's a sucker. So anyways, it's I'll let this topic go so that maybe one day y'all will watch it, or maybe it's too toxic to watch. But
ugh,
as a as a person who loves all these hippy dippy things, it was fascinating to see something that really, if it were advertised to me right now, I think I'd sign up for it, like because the ideas behind its origin is so pure.
yeah.
And I would love to break down barriers. And I would love this and that. So, anyhow,
You are breaking down barriers.
yeah.
You are just by being sweet, wonderful Jeff.
So tell me about your cult, or what can you say about your retreat?
I I underwent breathwork training. I can now facilitate breath work because I went to breathwork camp basically, and so it's amazing. It's like it's a healer training
I mean,
retreat,
it's
and so
yeah.
I spent a week with these wonderful folks and my teacher and yeah, like I was at like it was like being at intuition camp basically because that's so much of what healing is. What helping others heal is like using your intuition and just being able to hold space for people. And it takes the ego and the you out of it, and you're just really a container for energy or spirit or whatever you want to call it to flow through. And it's a wild thing. And we've talked on this show too about like what you can experience through breath work, and it's all over the place. It can be, I've heard all sorts of things, where it's like just a blissful, peaceful ride through your soul or whatever. And then there's like people that like myself who like I've had ancestors come to me and kind of work through me to heal their wounds and heal what I've taken on from their wounds. There's people that have like traveled through the galaxy and like seen their essence as like star people, like wild stuff. Like,
Yeah.
and so it can be anything to anyone really. But ultimately, it's about opening up your heart. Um, that's what my teacher talks about is like it was enlightening as far as like I was curious to hear him speak about like Wim Hof, right, which I've talked a little bit
Oh,
about
he talked
on
about it.
this. A little bit, like
Interesting.
he just alluded to it, where he's like, look, I don't care about anything other than opening your heart. He's like, I don't care about the physical benefits. He's like, and he's interested in it. Like there's people that want to do a study on him, and he just hasn't dedicated the time yet to do it because it's like a year long of being studied. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question about that then because I'm curious. So the person that you went with,
Mm.
eh, he's different. So Wim Hof is also breath work, and
Yes,
so is
different.
this. So
It's a
like,
different style.
yeah. So in that, I'm curious. Like, first of all, how is it different, and why? Why would you choose to study one versus the other, and etc.
So with Wim Hof, a couple of the differences is like he does like it's so funny because I studied, like I went through the whole course for 10 weeks, and it's all like, video and audio and stuff like that,
The Wim
through
Hof
the
course.
Wim Hof course and the Wim Hof method. And so there's sometimes where like he'll be like, barely. He's like Icelandic or Dutch or something. I forget. I think he's Dutch and from the Netherlands. And he's like, belly, chest, head, belly, chest, head, and those are the breaths. But I like have always been confused. Like on the head breath, when he says head, like does he want you just breathing out, or is it a third breath? Like is it like,
Yeah.
and I've always done it as a third breath into the head because he says into the head at times.
They don't have somebody who's
No.
giving you an example. They don't have an example. Like you don't hear a sound of someone breathing in the background.
Not
There's
really.
no one who lays down and you watch
In
them.
10 weeks?
Not really. Look, it's probably my fault. It's probably my fault somehow. And so, but, the big difference that I know is the big difference.
Yeah.
That's my not understand. And so this other breath work is called pranayama breathing. It's just the 2-part breath, and it's belly, chest, and out through the mouth, and everything is in through the mouth. Another thing with Wim Hof, he's hilarious, and he's like, he doesn't care how you get the air in. He says, just get it in the holes. And like, and the other breath work I do, and I can say who the teacher is, David Elliott,
Yeah.
who Cassidy studied with as well. He's specific about getting it in your mouth, doing it through the mouth because the air, because that way, because if you're breathing through your nose or any other holes, if you're breathing through your nose, then it's taking you into your head.
Right.
Not going to recover from this easily. And David Elliott's whole point is like, get into your heart and open up your heart. Okay, Jeff?
I shouldn't have started with the cult thing. It was my fault. Now everything is going to be misconstrued in my head and others. This is a very innocent, wonderful private camp you're not allowed to talk about.
Look, so, and then the other thing with Wim Hof is that he does the breath retention, where like you hold the breath in and you push the air, you push it up into your head.
Weird.
And like he'll do an exhale retention where you hold the breath out. So like he does that, and that's, to basically do some biohacking and things like that.
Yes, that's the difference.
And David doesn't care about that. He just cares about the opening up the heart. And that's what the book is. And after doing it, like, I agree. Like,
yeah. Well, so I know there's a couple things that I think I know about these things, and I've taken neither of these, and so I know what I know through Googling stuff with, when Cassidy gave me my first one, and then I was going camping and I was gonna have to do breathwork by myself, and so I Googled information on it. So here's the thing. Wim Hof is longer breath work, right? Don't they do it for a longer period of time?
It varies. Like he does some that are like, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, somewhere in there. And then he'll do some that are like 25 minutes. With the pranayama 2-part breath, like I can go on for quite a while if you wanted to. Like,
most people do at least 45 minutes
At
or like 40 minutes.
least.
Most people, oh,
Not
not
at
at least,
least.
not at least, but
Yeah.
this is like the average. The average is about 40, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, David Elliott, you can go on Spotify and check out some of his guided meditations there. They're free.
Yeah.
And they are like ranges, 7 minutes, maybe 11 minutes, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. First one is 7 minutes to kind of get you into it and things like that. And
Yeah.
then he's got some.
That's an awesome tool to know about
Yeah.
for if
yeah,
anybody
really great.
wants to like baby step into giving it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would read his books first. You got two very easy to read or listen to books that are really, for me, like life changing, in part because there's there's exercises that really get you looking inward. But yeah, I think for me, like his teaching is so beautiful and deep and really just gets down to it. I mean, he's a master, and I'm so grateful to have him as my teacher.
Yeah. So that brings me to my next thing. So you're there for what was it? 5-7 days?
Yeah, 6 days.
6
Yeah.
days. You can only do breath work so much in a day. So, oh no, did you do a fair amount of breath work in a day?
Like, I mean, for most days, we just do one round each. So, like, someone would hold space for me, and then I would later in the day hold space for them.
Oh, cool.
And, but like the first day, it was smaller increments, but we did 2 or 3 rounds. You remember what it is the first day?
I just thought the first day we all breathed together. I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
really
we didn't
remember
do
that. And then aside from that, the other days were like partner work.
Yeah.
Which God, that your days are long. Because you're holding space for somebody and their entire session, and then they're holding space for you, and in between you're processing, and then before that you're learning, or after that you're learning. And
Okay, so this is where I want to stop you, because this is where, as the person who hasn't gone to this, you're saying, all right, so yeah, of course we do this session. And then, of course, we're doing all the partner work and we're processing and none of these words, as a person who's never been there, I don't know what any of this means. Like, what else comes with, other than breath work, if you're going to a breath work session? What is it? What else is there? And what does that mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. And tell me if we need to add more, but like you're in class essentially. Like you're like receiving lessons, and I was taking notes and things like that. And it's how to, hold space for somebody, how to start a session and guide someone through a session, how to use essential oils most effectively. Like, it's not just like, here's some nice smells.
Yeah.
To like relax you. It's like,
And
oh, these are very intentional oil blends and things like that.
excuse me.
These are very like he makes his own essential oils, and they're really
That's cool.
yeah, they're all for like each for the different chakras, and they really get energy moving, and they're really incredible. And yeah, I've never worked much with essential oils, and now I love them. And so yeah, you're learning about like so much of it is just that's why I say the importance of like reading the books, is because he talks about universal energy flow, and exchange and value, valuing yourself and things like that, and your exchange with the energy, like first and foremost, essentially with yourself, but like it kind of starts with Mother Earth, really, and being in relationship with nature all around you. And his point being kind of what in the same vein of what we've talked about before, where it's like, oh, the universe is communicating with you constantly. And so to take that a step further, it not only is it communicating with you, but it's exchanging energy with you constantly. Like, and if you are not exchanging back, you're going to be out of balance. You know, think about like Native Americans and indigenous people and all of those, the people that have come before us, that and how connected they have been to Earth, to Mother Earth, to nature. Like, they call, you know, another thing that David taught me was like, rocks. He's like, they've got energy, man. Like, you know, he didn't say it like that,
Yeah.
but like, that's why. And like, he says things and I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, he's like, that's why Native Americans call them rock people, because like they call rocks rock people because they recognize that rocks, even rocks, have a consciousness, that they can hold and exchange energy. And it's freaking true, man. Like, when I breathe, I hold these stones that my teacher gave me, and these mother jumpers are now bonded to me and are so filled with freaking energy, it would blow your dang mind.
God.
I've put a lot, I mean, I've gone through some real stuff, some real energetic stuff with these things clutched into my hands. And like, yeah, I know it probably sounds pretty nutty.
It doesn't.
Not you guys, then the listeners, but
it
yeah.
doesn't sound nutty to me, but it's giving me anxiety because
Why?
now I want to yeah, and then I definitely want to get to you, Cassie, because I'm curious about your side of what your version of what the class was too, because it's going to be, I have a feeling, so incredibly different for you, and that's what I'm excited about too. But no, your rock thing only gave me anxiety because now I don't want to hold crystals, because those are just the pretty rocks, and I want to get the ugly rocks that no one else would use for energy and give them my positive energy, because now I feel like they're left out.
That's funny.
So I'm gonna go find me some ugly rocks.
Well, here's the thing. It's not, it's not positive energy or whatever. It's just energy.
Yeah.
And the reason why I make that delineation is because I've poured every type of experience of energy into these rocks, and so they're just a container essentially. Like, they're there for you to lean on essentially, and
cool.
charge into, and to ground you as well, yeah.
So then, does that rock hold the energy, or does it then disperse it?
It's good to clean them, like to give them a good cleansing in the sunlight and things like that.
So it isn't like an angry rock sitting around. That's what starts landslides.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
what do you want to say, Cassidy?
Yeah. So now I'm curious too, Cassidy, like what your description of the experience would be, and your description of like what the other classes are and what you took from it.
So Bo and I are very different, and we're also very similar. And I say that we're different because I'm just gonna tell it like it is right now. I'll tell it like it is. I don't take things so just seriously. Like I receive something in a training, and I believe that it is not finite or concrete, and I just give it my own spin, open to my own expression of whatever it is, my own way of whatever it is. And so, for example, before going into this, Bo's reading these books, and they're so, they're brilliant. but he's like, gotta do all the exercises, gotta do them all. They're all so beneficial, absolutely. But me, I did what I felt called to, and then I didn't do some of them because I think that this is part of the intuitive work. You know, when you're there, you are quote unquote training. Really what you're doing is you're remembering. When you're there, you're on a remembrance journey. I don't want to call it a training. It's just a remembrance journey of everything that you already are, everything that we all already are. And we are all empathic. We are all intuitive. We are. Mm-hmm. Now, it's whether you are aware of that or not, awake to it or not, right? And so when you're there, it's about you. This is not about David. This is not even about a specific way of doing things. When you're there, this is about embodying the lessons for your own self, embodying the medicine for your own self, because to be a proper space holder, you need to have first and foremost integrated that within yourself. And so this is why every day you are breathing and then you are holding space for someone, because you are there to work like on yourself, to heal your own self. Now, I was listening to a really cool message this week, and what's interesting is that previous to this message that I listened to, this talk that I listened to, I was very much in the belief that, you know, we are our own healers, and you know, we have the power to heal and all this stuff. I use that word heal, and I have wounds to heal, and I'm healing, and oh, I've healed that, or whatever it is. Or healing isn't linear. And I was listening to Teal Swan. Teal Swan was talking about this aspect of shadow self and wounds and whatnot. And she's basically made the statement that the minute that you say that you are healing, or you have something that you need to heal, or that you have a wound, it's like a criticism of yourself. You're discounting yourself. You're saying that you're damaged, and that's not true. You know, that's creating a hierarchy of experience within yourself, and everything rides the same. Everything comes from the same place. Everything rides the same poles. This is like non-duality. There's no separation. There's no, you know, black or white. It's all mixed up. You can't actually extract. You have to have. If you have one, then you have the other, and I lost my train of thought. So anyway, so the message. So basically she was encouraging us to notice when we're saying that we need to heal, or that we're wounded, and instead using the language of we need to integrate. I am not broken. I don't need to heal. What I need to do is observe and integrate. What I want to do is observe and integrate this lesson. This lesson, for example, I could receive a lesson today on generosity and giving. Maybe someone swung by and dropped me off, you know, a pie that they made for me, and wow, my gosh, I received that. There's a lesson in receiving, rather than thinking like, oh my God, I have to give this person something. And generosity, wow, this is like a random act of kindness, you know, beautiful lessons there. Those are lessons. And then I could receive a lesson in another form that could cause me a lot of suffering and pain. Lessons around imposter syndrome, lessons around, you know, whatever. What's a heavy lesson that you experienced in your life?
Murder.
No.
Yeah,
but
loss.
You could say that. Yeah, you could say murder. Yeah. Sure, why not? You know, reconciliation with impermanence. Yeah. Impermanence, right? And destiny and all of these different things. So there are lessons all around. Why do we call them dark or light? Why do we call them bad or good? They're all lessons, and they're all important. And so instead of healing, we say integrating. So there's that, right? So there's that. So this week, I'm like, okay, all right, okay. You think you understand something. You think you have the language. And then you're you know, given another opportunity, right? Because there's infinite possibilities out there, infinite ways. Words are just words. Words are just words. These are all just labels. I totally get it. But I'm trying to not attach to the words. I'm just really trying to attach, I mean, not even attach, but I'm trying to embrace meaning, like the meaning behind saying integrating. And what really resonates for me right now is that there's no hierarchy. Like even when you're thinking about Wim Hof versus David Elliott, there's no hierarchy. They both are so incredibly important. Wim Hof is actually, spiritual in his own way.
Totally.
David Elliott is, the emphasis is on spirituality, and he's not worried about the physiological stuff, but there is physiological, beautiful things happening.
Yeah.
Wim Hof, his emphasis is on anatomy and physiology, especially paired with the ice baths, cold plunges, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know him well enough to say that maybe he's not so focused on the spirituality. Also, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but my fingers are totally blue because I played the sequin. So anyways, am I making sense? I'm just trying to speak to, like, there's no hierarchy of things, and
Sure.
also words and labels and
Yeah.
experiences and takes on things, and they're all equally important.
Yeah, I do think they are. I think it's just what I'm trying to do is take this, when you do something amazing and you can't describe it to people, but
Mhm.
then I don't know what happened. is
It's
that
just like what the day-to-day is.
Yeah, but and also it's not even more that specific. Y'all have done already a good job. As I was describing, like, why I was trying to get there, because you're saying, like, the healing and the opening up, and it's all the wonderful things that I love and feel, and I'm just trying to get to, like, man, when you break down what both of you, this thing that both of you have gone through, which, by the way, I have seen since both of you have gone through the many things that you've gone through. You're completely different people from when I first met you both. And
Yeah.
and it's very cool every time y'all come back from something and have different lessons or something new to offer me in by way of friends or the way that we communicate, which has evolved so much over the years as
Mhm.
well. I get very curious as to, like, okay, cool, you went to this amazing breathwork thing, and, like, I know that he works really hard in being intuitive, and so I just get curious, especially if someone else was curious, like, if I'm going, what cool things am I gonna get to go through?
Sure. So, I mean, that's why I call it intuition camp, half jokingly, I call it that because you're really flexing that muscle and
Yeah.
learning to use it. As Cassidy said, and this is what David says as well, is like anybody can do this. And it's not about David. You're right. Like, and David would say that too. Like, it's about you and it's about your healing. And the more open and free you get, the more in exchange you are in a balanced exchange in every relationship in your life, and especially with yourself and with Mother Earth, the more, and the universe, that universal energy flow, the more you're able to access these gifts that every single person has. Honestly, this is what I believe about Jesus. Like, I'm not saying that every word in the Bible or the gospel is literal, but I believe that Jesus, like, I used to believe, like, the Bible is a bunch of really nice stories that we should all, like, take something from. And now, like, as I've gotten older and the more I've discovered, I'm like, I think Jesus could do all this stuff. And if you listen to what he actually said, he told us that we can do it too. Like, and I think that that's where Buddha got to as well, and yeah, like, I like, hell yeah, Jesus could probably do all these things. Like, and the whole point is that, like, you can too. I mean, David Elliott, for example, he's clairaudient. He knows he hears you, he hears your thoughts, and he has access to what's going on and what energy is present. And he was talking to me on one of the first days, and like he asked me about some subject that was difficult for me, like anger or something, right? Something that I had healing to do, to do around that subject. And he was like, he didn't do that. He didn't call. He was like, what? He's like, yeah, what comes up when we talk about anger? And I don't even know what my response was.
I get mad about it.
Yeah. And he's like, and he's like, and I said like, yeah, I don't know. I feel kind of uncomfortable. And he's like, yeah, see how your energy, like, he's like, that's why you just got hot. And I was like, oh my God. Like, cause right as he said that, like I had this flash of what I would call anxiety. And it was upward moving heat in my body. And I felt that sensation a million times in my life, and I wouldn't call it heat. Like, but I was like, oh my God, that was warmth, like going through my body. Like he just knows and feels everything.
Yeah, it's that feeling when you're like, I about to deal with something I do want to deal with and don't want to deal with at all.
Yeah. Exactly. And so, yeah, I do. So it got to the point like where, I mean, yeah, he just knew what was going on with everyone all the time, basically.
That's
like,
so cool.
And he doesn't like, I think he kind of, I could be wrong on this, but like, I feel like he tries not to, like he doesn't want to do it all the time. It's a lot, man. Like it's a lot to have access to.
He's very responsible and in integrity with his own practice. He will like go and take his time. He's not going to sit there and like have dinner with you all night long. He's gonna, he has healthy boundaries, and he does that for himself, and he does that for you too.
Right.
Yeah.
And and it got to the point too where like I knew I was tuning into my intuition, and it's been happening more and more as time goes on, like especially leading up to it. And then when I was there at the training, like where my intuition was just on fire, like it was crazy. Like, I wasn't feeling well before I was set to go. Like I felt the most grounded I've ever felt in my entire life for the last 8 months. And then all of a sudden, like in the last month, like as I knew I was going to this training and it became really, really real. And I had attached so much expectation to it, and meaning to it and self-worth to it. I started to like, my ego was flaring up and I was like, maybe I shouldn't go. And, all the BS that your ego tries to pull to stop you from growing.
Yeah, or the unhealthy behaviors or things that you do. It's like when you're going to go to rehab and you're like, well, I'm going to have my fun before I get rid of this thing that's hurting me.
Right.
Whether it's anger or whatever it is, you do that unhealthy thing to get it out of the way because you're an idiot.
Yeah. Same thing with a diet. Like, I've done that in my life. Like, oh, I'm going to eat the worst food.
Because I'm starting Monday.
It's the worst thing to do to yourself. And so, then, like, I mean, it was a lot of little things, but like, for example, I was driving one morning, like before I went there, like it was a couple of days before I was going, and one of the animals that David Elliott has a huge connection with is the hawk. And anytime I'm listening to the audiobook, I see a hawk. Like it's crazy. Like it's crazy. So I was driving one morning and I was like, God, I know I'm meant to go and I know I'm going, and but there were things that just felt like it wasn't real. And I was like, I'd like to see a hawk. And I looked up and I knew right then that I was going to see a hawk. and I looked up at this light pole, and there was a crow, and I was like, ah, man, wish that would have been a hawk. And then the next light pole, there was a hawk, Jeff. And so things like that. And again, that goes back to like the universe communicating with you.
Yeah.
You know, and you receiving it. Like and
David Elliott was having a breathwork session, sent his spirit in, like, you already paid.
I've got your deposit, and it's not refundable. So then, but yeah, as I got there, like so you get partnered up with people, and I knew every single day who my partner was going to be. I just knew.
Yeah.
And
was it somebody you wanted, or somebody that like you just felt like you needed, or felt like maybe they were drawn to you? What was that feeling?
That was my cheat, was that I figured out very quickly it was whoever I had some sort of like anxiety about working with, or like, you know, like, oh, they intimidate me, or oh, like,
cool,
we don't look like we mesh, or oh,
yes,
they gave me a frosty hello or whatever, like that type of thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
make yourself the most uncomfortable is whenever you're doing healing.
It's whatever you need. Yeah, exactly. It's, you know, because it's just such a great barometer for like whatever you're judging, you're judging something about yourself, and that's something within you that needs to heal.
It's not about that person.
My wife says it's not about that other person, and she's right. Like, and it never was. It never was. And I knew that even like when I'd be like, oh yeah, I bet this person won't like me, like, or whatever, you know. And I knew even then, I was like, oh, that's judgments that I have about myself, you know. And then we would work together, and they gave me the perfect medicine for what I needed in that day, in that moment. And like, and they were the ones that I needed to work with to heal whatever it was that was coming up that day. And I was the same mirror for them, you know, like, it was freaking magical.
And everyone there is beautiful.
And everyone there is beautiful, my wife says.
Yeah, there is a little like goodness barrier to entry on something like that.
There's an openness and a willingness, you know, and everybody's got their own stuff, and everybody's got their own things that they don't even know is there, you know, things that they don't even know are there. And yeah, but like, and the intuition just like kept coming. It was like, oh, I know that I'm going to have a deep interaction with this person tomorrow. Like it was crazy, man. Like, that's cool. It was just like, and like, I knew every time, like when he was going to call on me, it was like, it felt really good. And that's what it is. And circling back to what Cass was saying, it is about you, and it is about your healing, and it is about you stepping into your own version of what a healer is. Like, you're not bringing your gifts and your personality and what you are to your healing creative art, then it's a mask, and it's BS. Like, and so everybody's finding their own way of what does it look like if I am a leader or a healer. And otherwise, and so that was a big part of it.
Yeah. Too. Otherwise, that's when you become the cult leader.
Exactly.
Not honest with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
We brought it back around.
We did something here today.
Yeah, I'm excited. I feel like, I know there isn't like so much that you can talk about with this, but I feel like it was nice to get the idea of it, and what we could, and then, cause it is really cool. And I mean, even just watching you being away and doing it, I'm like, oh God, I crave that so much.
Well, you can go, man. And I think that's, aside, obviously, like, this is a biographical story for me, but like the universal message here is that like this sort of magic, this sort of ability, like, is accessible to anybody. And while I was there, I was imagining you there, and like that, like you would love it,
I
and you
know.
would thrive, and you would be great, and like, and it would open you up in big time ways, like, and yeah, man, because that's the thing. It's like it's clearing out stuff, like, so that you can more access love, and which is your inner power. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The universe
absolutely.
working through you.
And I will tell you too, and we don't have time to get into this because I have to get to class,
Yeah.
but I will tell you one of the things that really draws me to this one too is that I feel like I'm surrounded by very gendered self help these days, and it's women's retreats and men's retreats, and at times, even as far as I've come in my transness, a lot of times it feels like I'm stuck lost in the world and I don't fit in them, and or I'm not allowed, straight up not allowed.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating, and I'm sure that too is something that I need to deal with myself
Mm. Mm.
as well as open it up. Come on.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And so yeah, it is. This is. We can all do this. We can all do these things. Um, and now I can totally do it. And so hit me up, everybody, if you want to breathe. I'm
Yes.
Zoom sessions, and I'll be announcing like group breathworks. And
Breathwork power couple.
heck yeah, man, so much breath.
Yeah.
Um,
Full of
and
hot air over there.
that's right. But yeah, so reach out to me. I'm at Bo Bowker. We got my wife over here at Soul Scene Healing,
Yeah.
and at Hey Jeffrey J, right?
I don't do breath work, but I'll listen.
Right. But still hit him up.
Yeah. Hit me up. I'm starting a cult.
Yeah.
Sorry, your children in the other room.
It's okay. They don't know what that is yet.
Yet.
Yeah, I'm waiting until I decide which cult I want us to join.
Start your own.
Honey, do you want to join a cult?
Why not? Family living,
Cassidy says she likes
communal living.
communal living. So we're
I
halfway
do.
there.
I do too, and I think this is the thing. This is what, and we'll get into it another time. But this is why cults are like. It's so easy to just fall into one.
I know. It's like a big slumber party every day for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and one day you wake up, you're like, oh no, none of this was good.
All the bodies.
You guys drank without me.
Rude.
All right. Well, I love you guys. This was wonderful. Good to be back, everybody. Check out Bo and Cassidy, both of them doing fantastic breath work. I'm so proud of you guys. I love you guys so much. And I'm
Thanks,
excited.
Jeff. We're proud of you too, man. Love you. Thank you to all the listeners. Share the show with a friend, you magical so and so. We love you. Goodbye.
Bye.